Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on the skill of simple networking. I'm Cindy Strobridge, Director of Employer Relations and Special Events in Mercer's Center for Career and Professional Development, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. This webinar is a first in our virtual Career and Professional Development Week series, so I hope that you'll continue to join us for the other career development topics this week. Before we get started, I want to go through a few housekeeping items. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode, and the webinar is expected to last about 50 minutes. Time permitting, questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, you can submit this through the Zoom group chat box. Also, this presentation is being recorded. You'll be able to view the recording later today on our YouTube channel, and the recording will be sent out to all participants. Now, let me introduce our other moderator, Kim Meredith.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so pleased to join you today in our webinar. I'm very excited to join Cindy. This is one of our favorite things to do, to bring virtual career development to our students and alum. Thank you for joining us today. The Center for Career and Professional Development, like she said, is so delighted this week to be able to offer our inaugural Career and Professional Development Week. Our team has designed virtual programming that enhances professionalism and focuses on the overall career development of Mercerians. And all the CPD Week events are free and virtual, so we hope that you'll attend multiple events based on your interest and your availability this week. All of the event details and registration links are in your Handshake account under events, and you can follow our social media channels for all the updates. So if you have a moment, take out your phone or your device and choose your favorite social media stream and follow us now. And we sure would appreciate if you make a positive post about our webinar today using the hashtag Connect to Your Future. I'm excited to welcome our guest speaker, Chi Chi. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about our department switching to virtual and phone appointments. The Handshake Career Platform will keep you connected. I'm so excited about that. Please use it to meet with your Mercer career consultant or counselor. Inside the appointments tool, you'll see an option to select a phone or a virtual appointment type. And let us help you to connect with your future and keep your career on. I'm going to introduce Chi Chi Okezie. She's the owner of SIMPLEnetworking, a consulting firm based in Metro Atlanta. SIMPLEnetworking specializes in business networking, diversity and inclusion, and cultural awareness training. Chi Chi also blogs as the Champion Networker and has published 2 networking books, Simple Networking and Networking Made Simple. Her consulting firm was granted a proclamation for Business Networking Day for November 13th. She is the recipient of the 40 Under 40 for Connect magazine and Rejuvenate magazine, as well as the William Norton Outstanding Alumna for Oxford College of Emory and Campus Life Volunteer for Emory, which is her alma mater. At this time, I'd like to welcome Chi Chi and turn it over to her.
Thank you for the introduction. I know it's been kind of an interesting past 2 weeks. And I know as we're starting to adjust to doing a lot of things virtually, I'm so glad that I was still able to do this presentation, and I'm very excited to talk about networking. I started my business, Simple Networking, about 14 years ago, and basically what I do is I teach the art of networking cultural awareness, and this is with students, these are with working professionals, government agencies, and one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people, they just feel like, let me just go out and network. I'm a natural networker, I'm an extrovert, and really don't have a plan or a system for networking. And this can be very problematic, especially if you're graduating and you're looking for a job, if you're within a great organization and you want to advance, if you're looking for resources to develop your skills and your career and other forms of development. You can't just wing it, basically. So with this webinar, I'm just going to go through my techniques, key techniques that I've learned through networking, through having the business, and also building relationships. So let's just start with the agenda because I like to be really organized. I'm going to highlight the benefits of networking. I think it's great that we kind of set a platform that we're all on one accord and really understand what networking can offer us. I know we have a diverse group today, so it's not just students, but also alumni, faculty, and staff. So this will be great. Also, we're going to explore the networking prep work. Like I said, you don't want to just show up. You want to have a plan. You want to be able to have a process for networking. And part of that is being prepared for networking events and also chance circumstances or encounters. The other thing is we'll engage in a networking activity. So this will be interesting doing this online, but I'm excited. And then we're going to learn some effective tips and steps for networking like a pro. And as Kim and Cindy mentioned, we'll do question and answer and wrap it up. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have here about 5 benefits of networking. First and foremost, networking heightens your professionalism. When you have an event to go to, if you have a meeting, it gives you an opportunity to either dress for the occasion, to prepare, to get your notes together, to be focused, which are all aspects of professionalism, which adds credibility and also adds trust. Other thing is that networking allows you to establish and promote your personal brand. And I hope as students, alumni, working professionals, faculty, and staff, you've had some type of experience with personal brand or branding on the commercial level. Even with this presentation, you know, Mercer is a brand, and you are alumni are Mercerians, if I have that correct. So that's also a form of branding. The other thing is that networking builds your skills in communication, leadership, and development. You're able to really tap into certain types of aspects that will elevate you and advance you in your career, in your academics, or even your businesses. Networking also exposes you to resources and opportunities. I think this is one of the hidden gems of networking is resource sharing, being able to connect with people, not just necessarily to get a job or to get a particular lead or to get an introduction to meet someone, but also to learn about how to improve the way that you do things, how to improve your processes, how to improve with the type of technology that you use so you're able to be more organized and streamline your different activities and also prioritize them as well, because networking can lead to networking burnout. I've heard many people say, oh, just get out there and network. Well, when you just get out there and network or go to every single networking event that you attend, it does cause burnout. It takes a lot of energy, it takes resources, it takes money, it takes a lot is involved. So if you're more strategic, then you'll find more success when you're going to targeted events, when you're meeting specific people that can help you along your networking journey. And then last but not least, an extreme benefit of networking is that it gives you access to mentors, coaches, and sponsors. And are you all familiar with mentors, coaches, sponsors? If not, that's okay. That's why we're here on this webinar. I'll give you my example. I like to compare it to basketball. I know it's a kind of sensitive subject right now since we're not having March Madness and the NBA games have been postponed, but I'll compare it to a great NBA player, LeBron James, for the LA Lakers. In regards to him, if he's looking for a mentor or his mentors could be retired or even other co-basketball players, right? Coaches are, of course, his coaches that he practices with, that he meets with, that he does his drills with. And then sponsors are like the companies that sponsor him, that give him money, that give him exposure, that build his brand, such as, of course, his team, the Lakers, as well as like Nike and McDonald's and other franchises. So think of that in the type sense of how you would look for mentors, people that are in the careers that you have or that you would like to pursue, or colleagues that are doing things that you admire and you would like to emulate. Coaches are, people that are there to really train you, to give you insight, and to really give you the resources you need to reach those levels. And then your sponsors are people that are actually going to go to bat for you. They're going to put a good word in for you. They're going to submit your resume. They're going to invite you to meetings and really be that platform for awareness. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next slide. Your networking prep work. So as I mentioned before, we want to be prepared for networking events. And I don't want you to get confused, because networking is not just about going to events either. It's also about building a network, building a group of people that you can help, and vice versa. And even with, as I mentioned before, your network can also include your mentors, your coaches, and your sponsors. So when it comes to attending events in this situation, you want to register for an event ahead of time. And the first thing you should do is contact the organizer or the host of the event. Now, I know that sounds a little bit assertive or maybe aggressive, but there are lots of keys to doing that. Usually when you register, you should get a confirmation, and there should be a contact name, an email, or phone number. So reach out to that organizer and host and just casually introduce yourself. Say who you are, how you heard about the event, and then your reason for wanting to go. So that kind of piggybacks, or that actually segues, to the second point. You want to create objectives for attending this event. You just don't want to show up. Is it that you want to meet a particular person? Is it because you're interested in learning more about that industry that's being represented? Is it because you may want to join that organization that's hosting the event? Whatever it may be, come up with at least 3 objectives for attending the event. Then go and let the organizer or the host know why you're attending the event. And then the next thing that I want you to do, so you're going to have to push yourself, is that I want you to attend the event maybe 15 or 20 minutes early and connect with that organizer or that host. Or if it's a virtual event, then link up with them on maybe LinkedIn or through email again, and maybe ask for a 10 or a 15-minute phone conversation. And within that conversation, you're just basically reintroducing yourself, telling the person the reason why you're attending, and then also asking them if they can introduce you to people at the event. Now, of course, if it's a webinar, it's going to be slightly different, but they still have the list of people that are attending. So you can ask for a scope of the people that are going to be on the list, not specific names, because you do want to respect privacy, but maybe what type of industries are being represented, what type of positions, what type of, where are they in the region sense, if that's possible. The other thing is that you want to practice your 30-second elevator pitch. And this is what we'll do later on within the webinar. 30-second elevator pitch is a really critical part of networking because it introduces you. I like to say it's your verbal image, and it's a great icebreaker for starting a conversation and building relationships. The other thing is that you want to draft good conversation questions. Just jot down a few questions that you can ask at an event just to get the conversation going, to learn more about the other person, and then also just to really find interesting people. And then last but not least, bring plenty of business cards. So I don't know how, it works at Mercer, or through the business school or the different schools within the university, but you can ask your department or your advisor if the university prints out business cards for students. If not, that's perfectly fine. You can always go online and create your own business cards, or go to different office supply shops and purchase business cards. And the reason why I say that is because, as I mentioned before, your elevator pitch is your verbal image, and your business cards are your written image. So this is another way that you can present yourself It's another way that you can show professionalism, and it's another way that people can easily get in contact with you. And on your business card, you can just have your name. If you're a student, the year that you're graduating, your LinkedIn account, if you have LinkedIn, as well as your concentration or your major, any type of awards or clubs that you're a member of. Make sure that the business card is, how do I say this? Time sensitive. So you want to make sure that whatever information that you put on your business card can be good for 2 or 3 years. So if that's your mercer.edu email, then feel free to use it. If you're going to be graduating within 6 months or less, you might want to try another email address. And if you're comfortable using your cell phone number, then definitely use that. And I always recommend to use your LinkedIn account because you can always update that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next piece, which is the elevator pitch. And as I mentioned before, the elevator pitch is just a great way for you to introduce yourself, break the ice, start conversation, and really get to interact with your networking colleagues and counterparts. So I recommend, and I just have a few elements here. You have your name. You can also say your year and your major, as well as your school. If you're an alum or if you're in transition, you can say the position that you would like to get or the position that you currently hold, as well as your company or the industry that you're in. You can also talk about your awards and your experiences, your affiliations, the different types of groups and organizations that you're a member of. And it doesn't always have to be all professional either. You can also include organizations or associations that are community oriented yes, definitely community oriented. And then your future goals. Where do you see yourself 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now? Okay, so with that being said, we're going to play a little networking exercise. So as I had mentioned in our run through with Kim and Cindy, it's different doing it online, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm totally game. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to have 2 elevator pitches. This is the first one, and then we're going to have the second one. But there are 2 different dynamics to each of the pitches. So the first pitch is going to be pretty much similar to the elements that I talked about in the previous slide here with your name, your year, your major, your school, awards, experience, affiliations, and future goals. And I'm just pretty much gonna use all of these in just one sentence. So if I go back right here to this elevator pitch, I have, my name is John Doe. I am a BBA Marketing 21 at Mercer. I am also a member of Beta Gamma Sigma and volunteer at a local food bank. I want to do a summer internship abroad and work as a marketing analyst. So this is a great elevator pitch. Pretty much explains who John is, where he goes to school, his concentration, the affiliations, the different groups that he's a member of, and then also his future goals. Okay. So now we're going to do the simple networking twist. So we are going to, or at least I'm going to say everything that John has said, his name, his school, his major, his affiliations, his awards, and his future goals, but I'm not going to use the words I or we. So I'm not going to say I'm John Doe. I'm not going to use we, and I'm not going to fragment the sentences either. Okay, so with that being said, this is the second elevator pitch with the simple networking twist where I've taken out the words I and we. So now it reads as, my name is John Doe, BBA Marketing 21 at Mercer. This semester, my focus is applying for internships abroad. My extracurricular activities as a member of Beta Gamma Sigma and volunteering at a local food bank allow me to build additional skills. Hopefully, after graduation, companies such as Coca-Cola will hire me as a marketing analyst. So in this case, I hope that you do see a difference from the first elevator pitch and the second. And I'll go back just to refresh and show the first elevator pitch. My name is John Doe. I'm a BBA Marketing 21 at Mercer. I'm also a member of Beta Gamma Sigma and volunteer at a local food bank. I want to do a summer internship abroad and work as a marketing analyst. And in the second pitch, where I've taken out I or we, it's my name is John Doe, BBA Marketing 21 at Mercer. This semester, my focus is applying for internships abroad. My extracurricular activities as a member of Beta Gamma Sigma and volunteering at a local food bank allow me to build my additional skills. Hopefully, after graduation, companies such as Coca-Cola will hire me as a marketing analyst. So I hope that you can see, and I think it's a little bit better because it's actually written. You can see the difference between the first and the second pitch. Usually your pitches should be under 30 seconds, but in this case, it is under 30 seconds, but John Doe in the second pitch is marketing himself just a little bit more better, I guess you could say, than in the first pitch. He's being a little bit more, I guess, showing more details about how he wants to get from being a student at Mercer to a marketing analyst. And he doesn't want to be just a marketing analyst, but he also, in the second pitch, explains what type of company he would like to work for. So of course, us being based here in Metro Atlanta, in Atlanta, Georgia, we're very familiar with Coca-Cola, huge international beverage company that's based in Atlanta and headquartered here. So it kind of gives a scope of the type of organization that John is looking to align with. Big company, mid-sized to large company, international, and things of that nature, right? And for commercial, for profit. The other thing is that he kind of changes the order of how he says his key elements within his elevator pitch, which is perfectly fine. It's okay to change the order because what it's doing is it's creating a story, it's creating an outline or a journey that is, first of all, easier to remember. It is memorable, and it also markets him in the type sense that we understand why he's going abroad as an international piece, which could relate to working for an international company, and then also why he is a part of the Business Honor Society and the local food bank as well. So in this case, when I do this experiment, or when I do this exercise in group settings, I want people to realize that it's one thing to say I'm a student, and then it's another thing to explain what you do, what you learn, and what you want to be after you become that student. And that's really how you market yourself. So in this case, we just know that John Doe does marketing and wants to be a marketing analyst, as I said before. But now we get more insight with his second pitch when he's explaining why he's joining organizations, of course, to network and to build his skills, and also to prepare himself for the position that he wants. As I mentioned before, when I do this example, I'll have 3 people who will say in their first pitch, I'm president of my company. Well, that's great, but it doesn't say what the company is, what type of products or services they offer. It doesn't really explain their target audience. And with that being said, it's really difficult, or it can be difficult for someone to either want to partner with that company, refer that company, or even do business with them because they haven't been able to explain what they do in a deeper detail. So you all have homework. I want you to practice your elevator pitch, which is similar to John's pitch. I want you to write down first a regular pitch using I and we, and then I want you to take that pitch and transform it using the simple networking twist, taking out I and we, and then create a new pitch and see the difference in the two. I definitely want you to time yourself. You can even videotape yourself and also gain feedback from your friends and your colleagues and family members and things of that nature so that you can perfect your pitch. And the other thing is that in networking, depending on where you are, what your goals are, you can have more than one pitch. Just like when you are looking for a job, you're looking for an opportunity, if you're trying to excel in your career, you can have more than one resume. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the questions. So asking good questions can increase your credibility, memorability, and your brand. As I mentioned before, just draft a few questions before you get to a networking event, and you can memorize them or just use them as bullet points in order to start great conversation, in order to connect with people, find similarities, find a platform where you can connect and hopefully be able to further connect and build relationships. So here are these questions. These questions are open-ended questions. You don't want to ask questions that are either yes or no answers, okay? Or can just be answered one time. You want to be able to keep conversation going. So for the first one, instead of asking, where do you work? Because that's just pretty much one answer. Person will either tell you where they work, or if they're in transition, they'll say, I'm looking for employment, or I'm looking for opportunities, and it pretty much shuts down after that. But if you ask, what do you enjoy about your work? Then that kind of expands the spectrum of the questions and the engagement. The other thing is, how do you add value to others? I really like this question because it involves you having, and as well as your counterpart, having to think about what makes you different. And this kind of goes back to promoting your personal brand. How do you differentiate yourself? What are the skills and the abilities and the experiences that make you unique in your space or in your network? Another great question, or what are your interests or your passions? As I mentioned before, networking doesn't always have to be streamlined business and streamlined academics. It can also involve community and volunteerism as well. And finding out what people are interested in, as well as how they are able to connect with people on different levels, is really, really important. And it also helps to build and foster relationships. Another good question is, how do you use social media and technology to stay current? As I mentioned before, networking is also about resource sharing and being able to learn how to use different technologies, using different apps to streamline your processes, to keep your contacts organized, or even to find out information that is relevant to your industry can be extremely helpful. And once again, make you a go-to person or someone that is very knowledgeable or is continuing to grow in knowledge in your particular field or industry. Another good question, which I wish I had done when I was a student, is ask people, are you a member of professional groups or associations? I think this is a loaded question because, first of all, and I've said this several times to lots of students in different colleges and universities, it's great to be a part of your network, alumni network within Mercer. But when you graduate and you become an alumni, you can't really go back to your classes, right? You're an alumni forever, but you're only a student for a certain amount of time. So it's really important to be able to transition smoothly and properly into the professional world and make your networks diverse. And in that case, joining professional groups as a student not only looks phenomenal on your resume, but certain organizations offer a discounted rate for students. Now, that's separate from young professionals or under 40. So this gives you an opportunity to network with colleagues, future colleagues in industries that you would like to work. And it's also great to be able to shadow these people, go in with them to work if it's applicable, or even just talk with them and chat with them about different aspects of their business and the different work that they do on a regular basis. and also invite or ask to be invited to events. You can't be a member of every single group and organization, but you can be invited to different events. And that's another way to broaden your perspective and also broaden your network, meet more people, and gain those opportunities or be exposed to those opportunities and those resources. And then another great question is, what can others learn from you? So this involves a lot of internal thinking and reflection, which of course, with this pandemic going on and just kind of a shift in the way we do things in society, hopefully you have found some time for reflection, time to really think and to not to disconnect per se, but to really reconnect with maybe some of the goals and some of the resolutions that you created earlier this year or towards the end of last year. But really consider, what can people learn from you? What is it that you're able to teach, that you're able to impart in order to make your environments better, more productive? And then last but not least, what was the, last publication that you read? I think this is great when it comes to the resource sharing piece. I love reading blogs, reading ebooks, reading different articles. Once again, you just want to learn, continue to learn and be in that atmosphere to gain knowledge, to gain understanding, to make better decisions, first and foremost, to be able to connect and to learn and be an expert in your field, and also to learn how environments are changing. And also, I'll share a quick story. When I started the business, I started teaching French classes at a local college or university here in Atlanta. And I was at Georgia Tech in the evenings. I majored in French cultural studies and was doing translations before I switched over and started doing the Simple Networking. And I would always know the difference between the students who studied and the students who didn't study by the mere questions that they asked. Now, for those of you who are multilingual, bilingual, trilingual, you understand that, learning a language can be kind of challenging. You'll forget words, you can mispronounce words, forget meanings and things of that nature. That's totally natural, it's totally normal, but like I said before, I would know the students who studied just by the mere questions that they asked. For those of you who are familiar with French, or not, it's okay. French is a gender-based language. So the words are masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So a student who has not studied would ask, well, why is this particular word feminine? And if I look at it, can I tell that it's feminine? And keep in mind, these are engineers from Georgia Tech. So the next question is there a formula to be able to tell if this word is feminine or masculine? Which there is not. There's always an exception to the rule, especially in French. But the students who did study would say, okay, I see that this word is feminine. Please tell me, how do I use it in a sentence? Does it go before the adjective? Does it go after the numbers, after the colors? And if I forget what this word means, is there another word that I can learn that's similar? So I want you to realize that there is definitely a difference in the tone of the questions being asked. The person that has studied understands, the gender or, how the words and the grammar is formulated. So now they're focused on using it to the maximum ability in order to learn how to say the language properly and communicate, rather than the person who hasn't studied, which has, lots of questions, a lot of criticism, kind of trying to find an easy way out type thing for studying or things of that nature. And I think it's really the same way when it comes to networking. When you take the time to study networking in the type sense of building your communication skills through your 30-second speech, writing down your objectives, contacting the organizer or the host before the event, and drafting questions, that's your study, or that's the way that you're studying and building yourself and preparing yourself for these events. And I believe that when you show up, whether virtually or physically, people will see that and acknowledge that. Okay, so that's definitely something to encourage you and for you to keep doing on a consistent basis. Okay, so now we're going to move to the follow-up. So you have registered for the networking events, you've contacted the host and shared your objectives and connected with them. You've met some great people, you've exchanged business cards, you've had great conversation, you were able to utilize your elevator pitch. Are you done networking? I'm here to tell you, no, you're not done networking. You're almost there, but not quite. The missing element of networking is truly the follow-up. I think that students, professionals, business owners do such a great job of getting to that point, but then they end up falling off when it comes to follow-up. So one of the effective things that we're going to learn in this webinar is how to properly follow up and streamline our networking efforts. So first and foremost, you want to follow up in a timely manner. I'm talking within 0 to 3 days. You have some apps, especially with LinkedIn, where you can link up on social media right then and there. Go ahead and go for it. The quicker that you're able to connect, the quicker that you are able to continue to build that relationship. If you wait too long, then most likely you will forget. Most likely the person that you're trying to connect with will forget. And this can be a bit of an issue when you're trying to, like I said, find a job, when you want to advance in your career, or when you're trying to grow and diversify your network. So you really have to focus on responding back in a timely manner. And I'd like to think of it like if you were to call or email customer service for any type of organization or company, you would want a speedy response because that's a form of customer service. It shows that the other company or organization values your commitment and loyalty to them and your services. So think of it in that aspect. Also link up on social media. LinkedIn is a great resource. And the reason why I like LinkedIn so much is because you can post your picture, you have a professional picture, you can create your timeline of different jobs or experiences that you have. You can also post videos. You can also post white papers. You can also talk about the different or show or showcase the different types of awards that you may have received, or even as a student working with other students or with professors or other professionals, any papers that you might have published. So this is an excellent way to really showcase your skills and abilities and be competitive in that arena. Also, you know, in LinkedIn, you can ask for recommendations and get endorsements, as well as post and repost and comment and like different posts from people within your networks. And that's a great form of engagement that can bring awareness and also help you to boost and promote your personal brand. And then also, I would love for you, when you are in the process of following up, to personalize your message. LinkedIn does an excellent job of streamlining the networking process. They have come a long way since the past really year and a half. But you have the option before you connect with someone to send out a personal note, and always take advantage of that option. Even if it's, you know, hi, we met at this particular event, or hi, my name is so-and-so and I came across your name at a particular event through a mutual colleague or something of that nature. Use that as a connecting bridge where it's not so much as a cold email or a cold request, but it's warm and you are showing some form of credibility. And last but not least, I want you to be consistent. In order for this networking thing to work, you have to be consistent. I've seen a lot of times where someone will start networking because they have a particular goal to reach, and they will attend events, they will connect with people, they will be on top of things, they will make sure that their social media is up to date, they will be checking it on the app, and going strong for three months. And then once they've, air quotes, reached that goal, they drop off, completely flatline. It's quiet. And it's really interesting because when you drop off like that, you lose the momentum, and it's difficult. It's very, very difficult to gain it back. So I always suggest that pace yourself. Find a good medium, find a good pace where you can stay active and you can stay consistent and you don't fall off. And I know it can be very challenging as a student when you have midterms, when you have finals, or if you're on break, but still find ways to still be networking. Really consider networking a lifestyle, a way that you incorporate that into your everyday way of doing things so that it becomes second nature to you. And it won't be difficult in certain instances where you are, where you're really, really busy because you've gotten into a really good habit, or you've gotten into a really good routine, if you will. Okay. So here I have a treat. This is my Simple Networking Fantastic Four. This is specifically for following up. I have 4 different strategies on how you can properly follow up in order to continue networking, continue that consistency, being accessible, and really growing and developing your networks. And they're all just one word, and they're play-on-play words, so they start with IN, so it's easy to remember. First thing is you want to induct, right? So after you follow up, you may want to induct your counterparts into your circle, whether it's sending them a request via LinkedIn, sending an email, or just, yeah, and those 2 are pretty much the best, in my opinion. The next is you want to inform. Be an informational expert. As I mentioned before, share resources, whether it's ebooks, webinars, different types of events that may be going on, blogs that you're reading, podcasts that you're listening to. You want to be able to create a niche or a brand where you are that go-to person, so that they can say, oh, this person knows a lot about finance. This person knows a lot about marketing. This person knows a lot about, XYZ. Other thing is inquire, where you actually do the opposite. You inquire about future opportunities, asking where can I go to get more information about XYZ? Do you know anybody in this particular company that could be a mentor or a coach for me? What do you recommend in regards to how I should, expand my academics or my career or business opportunities? Or what type of resources or software or apps do you think can be very effective for me to reach my goal? So you're basically just asking, how can you improve and grow and develop? And then last but not least, invite your counterpart, whether it's inviting them to a coffee or to a lunch, if it is inviting them for just a 10-minute or 5-minute phone conversation, something of that nature, to where you can reconnect. Because there's one thing that I've noticed about networking events, and also whether it's virtual or online, there's a lot of activity going on. People are talking, they're getting to know each other, so you will not necessarily get to know that particular person in that first setting, maybe not the first time, the second, or even the third. It might take a number of times to meet and reconnect. And if that's the case, then you definitely want to have a specific time frame or a specific space where you can meet one-on-one and continue to develop that relationship, or meet in smaller groups. So you don't have to do all 4 of these. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3. You can even switch around the order of it, like we did for the 30-second elevator pitch, but at least do something so that you're doing something strategically and you're reaching out to your contact, being professional, and also, adding value and promoting your personal brand. So with that being said, I'll take any questions or answers. I will turn it over to you, Cindy or Kim. I think I'm done right now.
Thank you, Chi Chi. That was so wonderful.
Thank you.
We will be taking some questions now in the chat box. So please, if you guys have a question, go ahead and type it in for us.
And I can do that right there. Okay. Move my screen back to full screen there.
Here's our first question, Chi Chi.
Hey,
What
great.
suggestions do you have for candidates looking for sponsors? What is the best way to advocate for yourself?
Okay, great question. Sponsors are definitely tricky. They're almost one step up from mentors. So if you are reaching out to a sponsor, it has to be, in my opinion, someone that you know very well, that trusts you, that that you are able to confidently go to ask for such a request, because it is a heavy request. And sponsors, they put a lot on the line, whether it's their name, their reputation, whether it involves money or finances. And so they definitely want to make sure that, not that it's a waste of time, but that this investment is going to carry through. And so it really involves you making sure that you know this person very well, that you have connected with them, and that you are showing them that you are very intentional about what you want to do. So it's going to involve a lot of trust and consistency. And then also with sponsors, it's going to, when I talk about building relationships, it's going to be more than just connecting with your sponsor once every 3 months. You have to create some type of timeline or some type of plan where you're constantly connecting with them to build that trust and credibility.
That was wonderful. Thank you for that advice.
Sure, no problem.
Here's another question for us.
Okay.
How persistent should you be if you're not getting a response from someone you have previously connected with?
Okay, so that's a real thin line, because you want to be assertive, but you don't want to be a stalker. And I've fallen in both categories. There's always, when it comes to follow-up, I say you send your follow-up between 0 to 3 days, and you wait about a week to hear back. If not, then you can send another follow-up or send another connection. Just wanted to reconnect with you, just making sure that you did receive the invite or the email, or, I'm just trying to connect with you. If they don't respond back after that, I would just leave it alone, because you really don't know what the other person could be going through on the other side. Or maybe, they're not interested. You definitely don't want to push it and be aggressive. And the example I'll give is that I had a very similar situation. I connected with someone and I sent an email between 0 to 3 days, and the person didn't respond back after a week. And so I, still had the original email, so I just forwarded it, but it was very polite. I wasn't like, hey, why didn't you respond back? I'm trying to network, right? No, you just say, I just wanted to confirm that you received this message that I sent a week ago or a week and a half ago. And the person did respond back, and they said, actually, I've been really busy. I've fallen off. My apologies. My young son, my toddler son, got injured and has been in the hospital. So of course, when I heard that, of course, you're just like, oh my goodness, is everything, you ask, is everything okay? Then it's not really about you and about whatever request or call to action that you have. And I'm very grateful that I was very sensitive in that particular situation, because it could have looked pretty bad if I, went off or was insensitive or didn't have that, give the person the benefit of the doubt, right? You just kind of have to lay low and just let it go, and then look for someone else or look for another way to connect.
Speaking about connecting, another question we have is, when is it best to start building your LinkedIn account?
Oh yeah, like after this webinar. As soon as you're a student, as soon as you, I feel like with the LinkedIn account, because it's online, you can constantly change it. You can constantly upgrade it. You can constantly modify it. And that to me is like gold, right? Because even with your resume, you still have to, do your resumes. Business cards is a little bit more challenging. As I'd mentioned before, the information you put on the business card is time sensitive. You want to make sure it's within 2 or 3 years. But with your LinkedIn account, it's fluid. It's constantly changing. And you can even have an app on it. I say go a step further and make sure that you download the app and, you know, set different settings, set the different notifications so that you're able to get information and be able to properly connect with people that are like-minded. And then also using hashtags for companies that you want to follow, different trends that are in your industry that you can follow, so that you can learn about what's going on in these industries, and then also be connected to people that are also following those hashtags. So yes, you definitely should have a LinkedIn account as soon as possible if you don't already have one. And if you do have one, consider updating it and refreshing it quarterly. And then also, if you do that, then definitely download the app, because I'm finding, you know, I'm on the go a lot, even, or at least moving around and very busy. And so when I have the app on my phone and I have the certain notifications and in place and kind of, moderate the settings, I can get the information that I want or that I think is top priority and be able to respond back quicker. As I mentioned before, you want to have a good response rate and be accessible.
Wonderful. I have actually 2 more questions and then we'll wrap up. So one,
Okay, sure.
it has to do with LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of students that ask if they need a premium LinkedIn account. What is your recommendation?
Okay, that's a tough one. I'm still trying to figure that out. I personally do not have a premium one. The air quotes word on the street is that a premium one is really great for recruiters, or also people that are candidates looking for jobs. And of course that does fall in the category for students, but at the same time, I believe that there are different strategies in their articles. If you go on Google and just Google like how to use LinkedIn or top LinkedIn tips, you can find tips on how to properly maximize your LinkedIn account without having to invest money into buying a premium account. Because the thing with the premium account is that it is a subscription. So it's not like a laptop where you just buy it one time and that's it. You have to renew that every year.
That's great advice.
Yeah, and if you can afford it or you think it's worth the value, let me put that in perspective, then you can create a budget or a way for you to make sure that you're using it or paying for it every year. But I would always first start out with just using it on the free trial base and see how effective it is. And then if you feel like you're not reaching your goals or it's not exactly how you would like it to be, then you can do a free trial for a month, but a month is really not enough time to find out if it works or if you have some type of traction. It might take a little, I think it would take more than a month. It's kind of like a billboard. If you're on 75, 85 going through downtown, I have never bought a billboard yet, but I am quite sure that those companies do not let other companies or organizations just buy a billboard space for a month. You definitely have to lease it for at least 6 months because that's the only way that you can build that traction. So I believe it's the same way when it comes to the premium account. So use it free for a while and see how it works. If you feel like you're not reaching your objectives and your goals, then consider subscribing to it and buying it for a year. Don't do the free trial for 30 days. That's really not going to be enough.
We actually have another LinkedIn question.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So say you struggle with keeping in touch with like your network counterparts. What tips would you have for staying in touch with each member of your network, especially if you're only using social media sites like LinkedIn?
Okay, that's a great question. I think of it from the aspect of the Simple Networking Fantastic Four. The first bullet point, induct. Induct your counterparts into your circle. And when you induct them, what you should do is give them a title or a position. Just like if somebody was being hired into a company or an organization or a community, what is their title and what is their position? Because once you've identified that, then everything else kind of automatically falls in place and the expectations are set. So for example, if you meet someone, you're like, this is great, I'm going to send them a LinkedIn invite. Figure out who they are in your network. Are they going to be a mentor? Are they going to be a coach? Are they going to be a sponsor? Are they going to be like a fellow colleague, someone you could share information with? And once you do that, then that sets the expectation of, first of all, what type of information you're going to be exchanging with them. So if it's a mentor, then it's someone that you're exchanging information on your academic or your career development. How often are you going to meet? If it's a mentor, it might be quarterly, so that you can go out and do things, or you can build your skills and then come back and share it, right? And then also, it also helps you to determine how you're going to connect with them. Are you going to connect with them just via LinkedIn? Are you going to meet up face to face? Are you going to do it through text? Or are you going to do it through email? And the example I'll give is for myself as a business owner. Let's say I've met someone, I'm like, this is a great person, I'm going to induct them into my networking circle. So I've inducted them by sending out a message, an email, whatever that may be. But I put not a label, because you don't want to label them, but I give them a position and I give them a title. This is going to be a potential customer. So now they are a potential customer. Am I going to wait a week to respond back to them and connect with them? Most likely not. I want to connect with them as soon as possible. And when I connect with them, what information am I going to give them? I'm going to talk about my seminars, my workshops, the books that I have, and the different type of work that I've done in the past to build that credibility and trust. And then how often am I going to do that? I'm going to do that as often as I can, to where I'm not necessarily disrupting them or aggravating them, but I'm kind of pulling them along or guiding them along the sales pipeline. And how long is it going to last? It can be short term, it can be long term, or I can even incorporate them into, this has been a great client or a customer of mine. And then now I can be able to ask them for referrals, ask them for introductions, and things of that nature. So my suggestion to you is, once you have inducted them or incorporated these particular people into your network, then give them a position and give them a title. And that will help, hopefully and helpfully, guide you as to how to communicate with them.
Wonderful. And now our final question, which is very pertinent to our current climate.
Oh, yes.
How should you, or can you be consistent and stay engaged in your networking plan, given the current period that we're in, where you're really not going to networking events or being able to go out and about and shake hands and talk to people face to face?
It's a great question. So it goes back to LinkedIn or other social media outlets, blogs, even Twitter or Facebook. You're going to have to start to possibly join different discussion groups. You know, if you type into LinkedIn, different discussion groups that are of interest to you in your academics or in your career goals as well. And you can also do that on Facebook. Facebook also has a lot of professional discussion groups, believe it or not. It's not all about exchanging recipes and pictures from vacations. And then also following companies is really important. When you're able to follow companies, then they're posting information about different activities and things that are going on that may not necessarily be face-to-face, but actually virtual. I'm honestly, within the past week, I've had like 5 or 6 events that have canceled, and transferred over into virtual meetings. And, you know, with these type of meetings, it does give you an opportunity to connect with people, to exchange ideas and things of that nature. But one of the things that I definitely recommend is to join online groups, whether it be Facebook or LinkedIn or even Twitter, and be able to follow hashtags as well, and follow companies, and be able to see what type of activities are going on.
Excellent. Thank you so much for helping us answer all
Sure.
those questions.
No problem. Okay. So with that being said, everyone, you're Simple Networking certified. Woohoo! It's a party.
Yay, thank you. That is so wonderful.
I will close out my screen here. Oh, let's do that. Stop the share. Okay. There we are.
Chi Chi, that was awesome. I want to tell you that I enjoyed so very much your 2 points that really came home with me. I'm sorry for the background noise right now.
Oh, you're fine.
With considering networking a lifestyle. I wrote that in bold letters here in my notes. What a great way to think of that, because it's not just one course of action that you do in a temporary period. And that really was a major point that I was able to bring away today. And also your point about the induction, about having a person in a position, honestly, that has not dawned on me. And I love that metaphor and how that really helps you in your thoughts to solidify how important that each and every connection is. So thank you for those other points.
Absolutely.
I think we're ready to close up to today's webinar. I feel great, feeling certified now. I might have to put
Yes.
and
Not
I want to.
people can say that.
That's right. And I appreciate you, and I look forward to being able to distribute the ebook that you have provided.
Yes, absolutely.
Today.
Yes, definitely. These are just tips, additional tips on how to network. And they're play-on-play words, because, you know, I love play-on-play words. So each chapter has a different spin to it. The first one is membership dues, but instead of it being spelled as dues, D-U-E-S, it's actually dues is D-O''S. And these are things that you should be doing as a member of an organization or a group, whether it's in school, outside of school, and how to really maximize those relationships in the networks that you're in. So I'm really excited that everyone gets a copy of the ebook. It's a wonderful read, and it's a short read. It's not a thick novel.
We'll look forward to that. At this time, we will conclude our webinar for today. Thank you everyone for joining us.